Welcome everyone to another Energy Healer Spotlight. I'm Selena, energy healer and mentor, and I love helping others strengthen their gifts and expand their reach. Today, I'm so happy and excited to introduce to you the lovely Bex Fennell, an amazing healer who works with the emotion code and the body code. We're going to talk about her journey to where she's at now, her favorite healing moments, and all the good stuff about energy work. So if you're curious about this path or already practicing, you're going to love it. So let's jump in. Welcome, Bex.
Thank you, Selena. Thanks for having me.
All right, so great to have you here, Bex. And we have people tuning in from all over the world. Could you tell us where you're at in the world today?
Amazing. So I am now 6 months officially into opening and practicing as an emotional body code practitioner. I did train in the emotion code back in 20. So for about 5 years, I was working as a photographer, but I was also doing the emotion code part-time with family, friends, but also taking on the odd client. So it's only really about 6 months ago that, having done the body code training, I decided this was such important work that I had to take the leap of faith and just go all in.
Awesome. So you've been familiar with the emotion code since years ago, 2020-ish,
Yes,
and decided to finally just completely embrace it with the
yes,
certification and going forward, helping people on a even larger scale than you've been doing, right?
absolutely,
Awesome.
absolutely.
Okay. And with your lovely accent, you're coming to us from, uh,
Well, I live in England, but
okay.
I'm from South Africa originally.
Okay,
I
that's
have a bit of
right.
a
That's
mixed
right.
accent, but yeah, I live just outside London, have done for many years now. So that's what I love about this work, is that you can work with anybody worldwide. It's phenomenal. So I have worked with quite a few people in South Africa when I was training, quite a few friends and children in South Africa who didn't want to meet me, which was fine because we don't have to meet our clients
Right.
face to face, do we? So
Right. Yeah, it's lovely, right?
yeah.
So not intrusive at all if you don't want it to be, right? I know you got exposed to Motion Code 2020-ish, but what really or initially drew you to finding some type of alternative energy healing, or how did you find out about it? And what was the motivation to try it?
Well, as with a lot of people, COVID changed the world and changed my life. But in the years leading up, 6, 7 years, I just had the most debilitating chronic neck pain. And I suffered horrific anxiety. It was all linked to the TMJ, so the joint here. I'd wake up at 3 in the morning in horrific pain. It just off the chart pain. And, for 6, 7 years, nobody could help me. So the doctors washed their hands of me eventually. I went through every test going. Yes, I'd had a couple of car accidents, but there was nothing more than just wear and tear come out of it. I still have a homeopath who I love, but homeopathy didn't even
Right. What
help
was
that.
that from, like teeth grinding, or do
So
you know
yeah, I
what
think
the trigger was?
tension. I suffered severe anxiety and it grinding at night.
Okay.
So and I'd go to sleep with meditations in my ears, beautiful music, still wake up with this. My jaw would be like shut, tight.
Mm, yeah.
And it just was horrific. And I suffered, like, before that and during that period, there were a lot of family deaths, and I'd got divorced, and then my mother died. And then, my uncle died. And there were so many deaths in
Yeah.
a 7 year period. And I was
Oh,
a
wow. So it's like that built up trauma that turned into tension in your body and that
Yes, and the
chronic
body just
pain.
and I remember saying to a doctor, I feel like I've got trapped emotion in my body. I literally said those words. Can you believe it? And
Oh,
he just said to me, well, good luck with that. I don't know how to help. And now we know, trapped emotion, the blanket word is stress. So, but still doctors wouldn't know how to release that.
right.
And
Right.
and so when we went into the lockdown, I was just off the chart anxiety. I was on my own here. My son went to live with his father during the lockdown. That was better for his mental health where he was. And new friend said to me, I can't watch you suffer any longer.
Mm,
I've got this amazing practitioner in Canada. Now that was a stretch for me. She said, he can release trapped emotion, and those were the magic words. And I thought, you know
Okay.
what, I've tried every other energy healing, not energy healing, sorry, alternative therapy going. Nothing helped me long term. Things might help me for a week or two, but that was it. And it was just, yeah, I decided, I lost my income. I had savings. There was talk of the government helping us out. And I thought, you know what? I'm just going to book 12 sessions. I'm going all in. And my friend staked her life savings on it. And I thought, well, if that's a bold statement, and this particular friend
Wow.
is very spiritual, very, into energy, and she doesn't mess around with her words.
Right.
And she said, I'm telling you now, this will change your life. And she
Wow.
wasn't wrong. And it just, I felt that gradually I could sleep through the night because I never went through a night without sleeping. I was taking so many painkillers, which wreaked havoc with my stomach. They had caffeine in, yeah, I was in a really bad way.
My gosh. Well, thank God for your friend pointing you in that direction
I
and
tell
you
you
being
what,
open to it.
she and I were
Um,
meant to meet. She and I
yeah.
were meant to meet.
But
Yeah.
you had already had that inner knowing that it's trapped emotions that were
I-
messing with you. You literally said it.
yeah, literally said it. And, and I didn't know my practitioner in Canada, we just worked over the phone. I didn't even know what he was doing. He didn't explain what he did or
Okay. So no video call, it was a phone call.
no, just phone call. I had
Okay.
no, all I could hear was his voice. And I was thinking, what magic is this man performing? Which now I know often people say the same to me. But it was phenomenal. The pain started to leave my body. I started to calm down.
Oh, that's
Um,
beautiful.
I stopped taking the painkillers as much. And, I started to really feel much more in tune with my body. It was just phenomenal.
Oh,
And it
that,
lasted, the pain went away and it stayed away.
yeah, amazing. So, how many sessions in would you say that I know everyone is different. Some people could, have pain drop from 8 to a 2 in one session and it stay that
Yeah,
way. Others,
yeah.
it takes several sessions. How was it for you with that particular
So
issue?
I remember the first session, I couldn't believe it went from like a 9 down to yeah, like a 4, a 3 or a 4.
Nice.
And that was,
Wow.
in one session. I just was like, this is ridiculous.
And that was
Can't
your
even-
first session.
That was my first session. And then what was amazing was I went to bed and again, I woke up as usual at 3 in the morning, horrific pain. And he could see that I was online on WhatsApp. And he messaged me because, of course, he was five
Yeah.
hours behind. He messaged me and said, Bex, I can see you're awake. Are you in pain? And I said, yeah, it's really bad again. He said, give me a minute.
Yeah.
And inside of 5 to 10 minutes, the pain had dropped down to like a 2.
Yes.
I was
He
able
did
to
a little
sleep.
something.
He did, which was so kind. I mean, honestly, it would
Yes.
be 10 at night there, his time. And then we met pretty much every 4 days, actually. My body was must have
Yeah,
been
you were really ready then.
really
Yeah.
ready.
Yeah.
And yeah, I would say 6 sessions, it was starting to make a real profound difference, and I could feel it really. I just could feel my whole system calmer.
Yeah.
And then, after 12 sessions, I just
You're a
started to
new person,
see,
right?
yeah, I feel like I started to see the colors of the world better. I know that's weird to say.
Yeah, I've totally heard that before. It's like even the colors look more
Yeah.
vibrant or brighter, right?
Yeah, and I no longer had this horrific anxiety about being on my, because one of my biggest fears was being left alone. So abandonment is childhood trauma many times that,
Right.
so for me, being locked down by myself was
Yeah, and it's by itself was
the end
a
of the,
big
yeah.
trauma that you had to wake up
But
to every day.
yeah, but with the
Yeah.
body code, I was having a party by myself. I was having like, I'd put on dance parties and I moved the mirror to behind me and I moved all the furniture and, and I
Oh my
actually,
gosh.
I think I would have been a wreck without it. I don't know how I would have
Yeah.
gone through being on
So
my
so
own
you have
without
no
them.
regrets like going in, getting a bigger bundle right away and going for it.
That was, that was the key, I think,
Yeah.
getting the bigger bundle and just letting your body relax into doing it. And I think,
Right.
look, miracles, you and I know that this is miraculous work. You and I have seen miracles in one
Yes.
session.
Yes.
I think depending on somebody's age, you've got to be realistic. And I think give your body a chance to just release layers and it'll come,
Yes.
because
Yeah.
we're complex beings.
Yes. Yeah. And then the longer you live, the more time for trauma to build up. Is that what you mean by age?
Yes, that's exactly what I mean.
Yeah,
Totally.
and it's not to dismiss anyone who's a lot younger, who's been through some intense trauma, because
No, no,
obviously there are, unfortunately, a lot of people who are younger, and even by the time they're 5, they've been through like the most
absolutely,
severe trauma type of thing, right?
absolutely, absolutely.
Yeah, but you had that short period of time where it was like year after year, like one major significant loss
Yeah,
in your
yeah,
close family, one
yeah.
after the other.
And I had a
Yeah, I'm so glad
couple
you're
of
feeling better.
I tell you what, and I mean, I even had like a couple of car crashes. I had a few surgeries. I had cancer removed from my
Oh
under my
gosh.
right eye. I broke an ankle in 3 places severely. I had to have surgery, and it was really horrific. And so talk about, I really felt that victim mentality, and I think that's,
Right.
even now there's still layers of the victim releasing. Even now in sessions, that stuff is it's in deep. So
Mm-hmm.
it's I think we're a
Yeah.
work in progress, and I
It's a lifelong progress. It's a lifelong
yeah,
thing.
yeah,
But,
yeah.
getting those heavier layers off is so freeing, to increase our ability to function and not be in constant pain, for
It, you know,
sure.
it actually it gave me my life back. That's what it did. I couldn't be honestly, I'm so grateful for it. And it's just yeah, like a
Yeah, I'm,
medicine.
I'm not picking up any anxiety from you at all. You just look so light and free.
Uh,
So I'm sure your clients really get so much from being in your energy now that you're able to hold
yeah.
that frequency. So that's beautiful. Okay, so you're newer in terms of being a certified practitioner, and I'll be putting all of your contact details. So whoever wants to reach out to you, just look in the description below. If you could tell us maybe about your approach in terms of, do you like to meet with clients over the phone, over a video call? Do you like to do remote where you're just connecting to their energy and not on any phone or device? What's your preference, or what's your approach look like these days?
Personally, my approach is I love to have that first either introductory call or the initial session. I like to do it via video just so that you can meet face to face. This is energy healing, and I love, you even through a screen, you get somebody's energy, right? So, and then once I've done that video introduction, then I like to just phone people. So I don't work in person. I learned, in the lockdown. So for me, I love having all my crystals and my beautiful, candles and my essential oils, and I set myself up and I get in the zone. I'm very happy to work remotely. So if somebody wants me to work while they sleep, so if there's a client in Australia or America, Canada, very happy to work while they sleep, and I've done that, and I love that as well because you can really hone in on their
Focus.
energy. Yeah. So I think that's why I like the phone call, because your senses again are just focused in on the energy. So that's my approach, the way I do things.
Very nice. Well, Bex, these several years that you've been doing the emotion code and the body code, if you could share with us a healing story or two, whether it's for yourself, a client, family member. Yeah,
Yeah,
please
I'd love
share. We
to.
love these stories.
Well, I've got a phenomenal one actually. This was when I was just doing the emotion code actually. So a friend of mine lived here, but she was emigrating to Australia, and for years she had heart palpitations and actually felt like she was having a heart attack. And she had all the tests on her heart, I can't remember the name of them, but the EC,
Right,
angiograms, all of that. She had all the tests done on her heart, and no doctors could find anything wrong with her. She'd seen all cardiologists.
right,
Honestly, it'd been going on for a few years. She was in a bad way with her emotional mental health as well.
right.
And then I did through the emotion code, I released her heart wall, and she said ever since then, she's never had another problem. I mean, just phenomenal.
Yes, I love it. Yeah, the heart wall is like such a foundational place to
Totally,
target for healing. It
totally.
can make a night and day
It,
difference
it,
like
it
it did for
just,
her. Oh my gosh, that's
yeah,
beautiful.
it was just the most, and it was so funny because when you first start learning this, you almost don't believe it. You just think, sorry, how? So,
Right.
and I was working as a photographer back then, and I was thinking, this is crazy. And she said, no, honestly, since, and I know my experience with the heart wall when mine was released, my practitioner worked while I slept because I'd got to the point when I was sleeping. And I woke up on the morning that he did the third session and released my heart wall completely, and I felt euphoric. Now, that's not a word you hear very often. Like, it's not a
Right.
word I've ever used in my life. I've never used it before nor since. But euphoric, I felt phenomenal. I've never felt anything like it. And it was just this new sense of freedom. And so that was incredible. And then another amazing
Yes.
story, actually.
I just want to pause here. And
Yeah,
that was just with the emotion code, right?
yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So if anyone's watching this and you're like, I'm so curious, I mean, you can literally go to Amazon or go to your local bookstore, pick up the emotion code book and
That's it.
learn how to do this. Or if you're not the do it yourself selfer, you can find a practitioner, you can reach out to Bex, you can reach out to myself, or
Yeah,
you'll find the right practitioner for you. And even if you're only just getting your heart wall release, it's so worth it.
it's phenomenal. And
So
I and
worth
I
it.
say to clients, I know the body code is meatier, obviously, but actually the power of an emotion code session is phenomenal. It really is phenomenal. But I've got one client at the moment who, and I love this story, and she won't mind me sharing. She's a nurse by trade, so but I know she's open to all of this. So, and she had terrible back pain on the one evening that we were doing our session, and during the session, that back pain disappeared, and she went to work the next day, and one of her nurses just said to her, "You're lying. I don't believe it. You're lying."
Right?
She was like, I'm not lying. It's true. It's gone.
Yes, I love that. And was that with the body code or just emotion code or
That was the body code. Yeah, the
okay.
body.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. I
But
love it.
the releasing of, I think, inherited trapped emotions, I think is also so powerful. I've done sessions where, and I know this to be true of myself, that I used to say that my anxiety just isn't my own. I know it's my
Mm,
mother's. And she passed away many years ago, but she was such a highly anxious person. And so a lot of absorbed, but then I think a lot of inherited. And I just thought, this isn't mine. How
right.
do you get rid of stuff that's not yours? And this is what really helps clients, I'm finding, is that it just, the fact that you can release it from their children
Right. Yeah.
is such a gift. It's just, and the fact that I can do this work and release from my son whatever he's inherited from me, and he's watched my journey. I'm a single mom, and he's watched my journey, and it was tough for him in those teenage years.
Right.
He's quite skeptical of this work because he's a very science brain, but he sees the power of it, and he loves having sessions himself. So,
Yes.
he doesn't want to sit here with me. He'll be up in his room on his phone, or he's not bothered, and he doesn't want to know about the woo-woo stuff. He just wants is there a pain in my neck?
Yeah.
Is it
He says, "Is
muscle?
get rid of this pain in my neck."
Yeah, was it my liver? Usually after, during university, it was the liver detox, right? It was always the liver, the pancreas. So, but it's such for me, I'm really beginning to realize just what a gift this is to give to your children,
Absolutely. Like, I have
not just
four
for you.
children, and four grandchildren, and I've done
Wow.
sessions on all of them. Even one of my grandchildren, I can remember she had an inherited trapped emotion that was actively affecting her for one of her issues from a great grandparent on my side. So, it does trickle down sometimes. So,
So empower, don't you feel like as a practitioner, it's so empowering to
yeah.
be able to do that, and to just, like now I can say to my son, I'm terribly sorry that I did all, that you got all of my stuff, but I can fix it now. And I think, even as you said, even if people just picked up the book and learned through that way, even if they didn't want to be a practitioner or anything, our bodies are phenomenal. And actually, anybody can do this. I mean,
Yeah.
when my practitioner said that, I said, "Are you kidding?" He said, "Well, we're all made of energy. Anybody can do it."
Yeah, if you
So,
have the desire to do
yeah.
it and you spend time, there is a learning curve, but if you
Mm,
feel drawn to it, I really believe most people can absolutely
I
do this
agree.
for themselves.
I agree.
Yes.
Crikey, if I can, anybody can. Because I mean, I didn't.
Yeah.
I've always loved angel cards, and years ago I had an angel. Angel cards kept on talking like, you're gonna be working with people. You're gonna be either an energy healer or a psychic, and I was like, that's insane. Don't be
And now
ridiculous.
look at you.
I
It's all
know, I
happening.
used to get the same cards, and I was like, this is mad. I'm never going to be doing that. I can't, that's just not me. And yeah, look at me now.
Right. Yeah. So as you're, growing in the energy work and the energy field, and really opening yourself to spirit's guidance on this. Are you feeling like your intuition is growing or your psychic gifts are opening up? Because I mean, we are all psychic at some level. Even if you don't want to call it psychic,
Yeah,
we can all tune into each other. We can tune
absolutely.
into the rhythms of the universe and what's happening in each other's field at a very subconscious level. But when we are able to really dial into the energy, it just becomes just more visible in our field, or we're just more aware of it
Absolutely.
as energy
Yeah,
healers. So, do you find
absolutely.
that's happening?
I tell you what, it's phenomenal. And it's amazing you've asked this because even in the last 2 days, so yes, I feel like I get a lot more intuitive downloads. But what I've noticed is I feel who I'm working with, it's almost like my body shows me where we're going next. So just yesterday and today, yesterday, I was thinking, why has my right ovary started aching? And I mean, I'm fully in the menopause. I haven't felt my right ovary in however long kind of thing. I've never been conscious of that. And then the next thing is that took me to this person's right ovary, an
And you,
imbalance.
you knew which client it was for.
Yeah, yeah. So I was
Yeah.
working one to one with this. Sorry, I was on a call with the client.
Okay, gotcha.
And it was almost like my body's leading me. And even today, a client had the TMJ, but I didn't know that. She hadn't told me at that point. And she had a kidney imbalance. And it was so strange because I kept on looking at the skull thinking, I'm sure that we're going to the skull, but it went to the kidney. And then one of the things with the kidney is the TMJ is an
There's a
imbalance.
relationship, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so she then told me about her horrible story with TMJ that 3 sessions in, I still haven't heard. This is the first I've heard of it. And it was so strange because I started to feel in my throat here, like there was a bit of pressure on my chest. And I was thinking, okay, she's not mentioned chest at all to me in these sessions or in my initial consultation. That none of that's come up. And I started to cough like this, and I thought, okay, is this showing me somewhere? And then yeah, literally after the skull created that, it then took me to the trachea. And I said to her, do you have issues with your chest or your throat at all? And she said, yeah, I do for a long time now. She said, yeah, it feels, and the way she described it. And so I
Was
said, don't
just how
tell
you
me
felt,
it
right?
feels this way. And she went, yeah. And I was like, mad. So I can feel, and then even so when doing inherited trapped emotions, sometimes I've started to feel relatives coming in pretty strongly. And with one client, I said to her, listen, I just have to tell you, I'm not a psychic. I'm not a medium. I'm not, but I said, there's words coming into my head from this relative. And she said, and she's very open and she gets downloads all the time. And she said, just say it. And so I gave her what she was saying, and she went, "Yeah, absolutely bang on. Yeah, absolutely." She said, "I can see." She even said, "I can." It was her grandmother. I can see her behind you. I can see her. She's really interested in this work that you're doing. And her turned out her grandmother was a herbalist and all of that back.
Oh,
And it was just amazing,
oh,
absolutely
that's beautiful,
amazing.
Bex.
Yeah. So it's just, I think, yeah, and I can hear my intuition even in day to day, not just doing sessions, even in day to day, I can hear it much more strongly. and I listen to it more now, you know?
I love that so much. It's exciting. We've got to have you back here like maybe a year from now or so, right?
Yes,
Because you're just
yes,
starting your journey and
yeah,
I love all that you shared, but I'll know you'll have even more stories and more wisdom
yeah,
drops for
yeah,
us at
yeah,
that time. Since it's relatively new, since you transitioned from your previous career, can you maybe give some tips to those who are considering going into energy healing full time or more as like a career switch or
yeah,
thinking of getting a certification with hopes to potentially get into this field? Any tips
absolutely.
mentally
Yeah,
or
absolutely.
logistically or practically?
Yeah, so I think what I remember doing this work, so I love the way Discover Healing, the courses that they do are so
Yeah, it's so
beautifully
well
laid
put
out.
together.
So
Yeah.
well put together. It's so easy. Like, don't be scared, because I haven't studied since I was at school and college. So, and it's so beautifully done with slides and pictures. It's easy to absorb and, and they give you plenty of time. And I think it's being open. I think that what I found hard initially, which I just from reading the Facebook page, a lot of people would get very tired quite quickly. And I remember I couldn't do more than, gosh, like one or two sessions in a day before just feeling so tired.
Same when I
Yeah,
first started.
I think that's to be expected and not to worry about it because actually you do start, it's like a muscle. And even
Hmm.
today I thought to myself, gosh, actually I've been doing sessions every day and it doesn't even, I try at the moment, I try not to do more than three just because I don't want to overload. But rather than doing three in a week, I'm now doing, three or one a day or so I'm
Right.
building that muscle and it doesn't, I don't think twice before connecting. And then also just I think the key thing is to learn how to protect your energy. And I was working with a chiropractor at the time who was an Indian guy who's very spiritual. And he said to me, always really important to wash your hands because your hands are the healing. Wash your hands and always wash your wrists as well. So before
Hmm.
each session and after each session. And I love doing that as a bit of a practice because it just helps me, start and end.
Okay. Yeah, that's a great practice actually. I never thought
Yeah.
about that.
And I
That's a
love
great
that.
like cleansing ritual.
That's it. And then recently I'm working with a coach and she gave me a little ritual of, imagining that you're in this golden bubble and it comes down and it only lets love in and love out. And then you put your hands into these blue, my hands are throbbing already, blue lights, gloves, which are like blue lights. And you've got your healing gloves on. And ever since doing that, my hands just start to throb. And it's like, okay, we're ready. We're getting ready. So the blue gloves,
Nice.
it's like medical gloves, but it's beautiful light from Archangel Michael, and it's just
Yes.
the protection, but it's the healing. And then personally, I fell in love with trees during COVID and the lockdown because I had no other living thing in this house to touch or hug. So I became a tree hugger, and I'm very proud of it. But
I'm a
actually,
tree hugger too.
yeah, but there is scientific evidence actually, even so I don't,
Yes.
I hold onto a tree and I shut my eyes and you can feel the energy and I ground my feet. So every day I go up to the woods to my favorite tree and I just stand for like a minute and I just ground myself. And I think that's, that together with keeping your chakras balanced each day
Yes.
and just rooted and grounded. So, and then between sessions, I'll go up to the little woodland and just to like breathe in the fresh air and hold
Okay,
my
wonderful.
tree.
So you use
Uh,
like a number of nature elements just to keep
yeah,
you grounded and charged up and like
yeah.
energetically available and aligned to be able to do the work you do.
That's it.
Yeah.
And I think that's what, I didn't know about really in the beginning. And so it's kind of information I've gleaned through the Facebook group and through this one and that one, and then
Yes.
learning about the chakras. So learning that when somebody's got high anxiety, their root chakra, their lower chakras are going to be completely out of whack, you know? And so it's quite interesting. So I was like, okay, okay, I need to really work on the lower chakras and make sure they're always balanced and grounded. So, even just eating red foods for your root chakra, wearing red underwear,
Yes.
it all adds to the, keeping everything in balance. So, and I think it's important for your clients, I think that's what I learned is that you've got to be grounded to hold the space for your clients
Hmm.
because as much as this isn't a talking therapy, actually people are coming to you with pretty, serious things. And some people, I had a lady the other day who just, just absolute meltdown. And you've got to be able to hold that initial space if somebody does arrive, into your space like that.
Yeah, specs. I mean, these tips are gold because it's everything. Like, you would not be able to be effective as you are if you
Yeah.
weren't so grounded and you
Yeah.
didn't take care of your own energy. So I
And
love
your
you
and your
sharing
own
this.
your own mental health as well, it's so important to, but also don't be scared. When I first started, I wasn't nearly as, like, and I know now in 5 years' time I'll be even more amazing. But don't be scared to start it because it's God's work. It's the universe's work. So it's not what I loved about it, versus being a photographer, I found a lot of high pressure because it was all on me. So one of my favorite sayings of Dr. Bradley's is if somebody asks him a question he doesn't know, he just says, I don't know, I just work here. So, anything, and he says anything can cause anything. So our bodies are all connected, spirit, mind, everything. So the great thing is we don't have to know anything.
Yeah. It's not our job. We're
It's
not
not,
trying to figure it out. You
yeah,
know?
we're basically you're a channel and
Yes.
you're a facilitator, which is a beautiful thing. So you can never get it wrong. I think
Right.
that's the beautiful thing is you can never get it wrong. And
Yeah, because really it's your client's subconscious, your client's higher
that's it.
self and spirit guiding you to
That's it.
facilitate the session. And all you have to do is be aligned for yourself, be grounded, be available, show up in love, and it just
Well, that's
flows.
it. You're doing it with light and love.
Right.
There's no malice. There's no, and you receive it as well. I mean, I've got a really dear
Mhm.
friend who, we did a session some weeks ago, and she had, neck pain was bad as well as other things. And during her session, my neck, I lost an uncle recently, and so I know with my body that when I have a big emotional upset, my neck does flare up, and I know that, and I know how to release it. And it got quite bad, and I guess I was grieving, so it was harder to do it for myself, right? Anyway, during the session, the pain started to lift, and then the next day
Oh,
she messaged and she said, "My neck feels kind of hollow, like there's no resistance." And it was so weird, Selena, because my neck was the same. And I've never felt anything like it. It was like this hollow, there was no resistance. It just felt like light in there. It was beautiful. So really miracles happen. You and I have said it before, miracles happen
yes.
every
Oh
day.
my gosh. So Bex, I know you work with like so many clients, probably even animals as well, right?
Do now, yeah.
Um, but
Love
I wanted to ask, do you have any like special groups, special populations, niches that you like to focus on, or are you at this point in your career as an energy healer more of a general energy healer, or where's your
So,
focus?
yes. So obviously I'm happy, whoever wants to come to me to work with them. I think I'm drawn because of my own experience and because of my age and also being female. I just know how hard it is, can be for women particularly. And I love quite a few of my clients are, women between sort of 40 and 60. Some are a little bit older and love that sort of age generation female because well I can relate to it, I guess. And so I guess a lot of our work, it's nice to be able to relate to your clients. And that's the sort of, I suppose, genre that I'm aiming for. People who, people who are committed to their journey, people who value their health, people who want to show up for themselves and, in return for their families, people who want to actually change the world by changing themselves, and just level up. That's,
Yes.
and it doesn't matter whether they're working or they're not working. I just feel, those that want to level up and really make a difference to their life and to other people's lives. That's and if it's a man, if it's a straight man, gay man, if it's, I don't mind at all. But equally, a child has been referred to me, and I love children anyways. I love their energy and I adore cats. So I'm working with a couple of little Canadian kitties at the moment and having some amazing success. So, and I have my own cat that I've had amazing success with. So I think because my business is relatively new, I'm finding my way. So it'd be
Mhm.
interesting to see in a year's time where I am.
Yeah,
Uh,
I love it. And I think it's a great idea for especially newer practitioners to just get their feet wet with whatever the universe brings to you and just to know that you'll be supported in doing those sessions. And eventually you may decide to have a more specific niche, which is fine, and or you may just love being a general practitioner too.
yes,
So
exactly, exactly,
yeah. So this has been
exactly.
such a fun conversation, Bex. Thank you
Amazing.
so much. So I know you're most active right now on Instagram, so I'll definitely link everything there and put your IG in the description as well as your website so people can reach out to you and connect there as well. Thank you
This has
so
been
much,
amazing.
Bex.
It's been so great. Thank you so much for
All
having me.
right.
Really
Thank you.
appreciate it.